Imagine a melody so dark, so haunting, that it leads people to the edge of the abyss. It was 1933. In a small smoke-filled cafe in Budapest, a struggling musician named Rezo Circes was staring at the rain, his heart broken, his world collapsing. He sat at his piano, and the notes began to flow like tears. He didn't know it yet, but he was composing a death warrant. The song was called Gloomy Sunday. At first, it was just music, a sad tune about lost love and the desire to end the pain. But then, something strange began to happen. People who heard the song didn't just cry, they disappeared. The first report came from Berlin. A young man asked a band to play the melody. He went home, and he never woke up. Then, a woman in London overdosed while the record was still spinning on her turntable. Is it possible for a song to carry a curse? Or was the music tapping into a darkness that already existed? The atmosphere in Europe was changing. The clouds of war were gathering, and Gloomy Sunday was the soundtrack to the despair. It wasn't just a song anymore. It was a phenomenon, a lethal wave of sadness that was sweeping through cities, leaving a trail of silence behind. Have you ever heard a sound that made you feel like there was nitrogen monoxide hope left? That is the power of this cursed track. The lyrics spoke of shadows and flowers, but the listeners heard a call to the other side. The authorities began to panic. They called it the Hungarian suicide song. But how do you stop a melody? How do you ban a feeling? The mystery was only beginning, and the body count was starting to rise. Are you brave enough to listen, or is the risk too great? The infection of despair didn't stop in Europe. It crossed the oceans. By the time the song reached the United States and the UK, the legend of Gloomy Sunday was already a nightmare. More than 100 people had reportedly ended their lives after hearing those haunting notes. The world was terrified. In New York, a typist was found dead in her apartment, the sheet music for the song sitting on her desk. In another city, an elderly man jumped from a window after playing the melody on his violin. Was it the lyrics? Was it the frequency of the notes? Or was something evil attached to the sound itself? The song became so dangerous that the BBC took a drastic step. They banned it. They refused to play it on the airwaves, fearing that the melody would trigger a mass wave of tragedy across the country. It was the first time in history that a piece of music was treated like a weapon. Even YouTube has removed versions of it several times because of its disturbing history. But the ban only made people more curious. They wanted to hear the Hungarian suicide song. They wanted to know why a simple arrangement of piano and vocals could be so fatal. But the more they listened, the more the shadows grew. Even the man who wrote it, Rezo Circes, couldn't escape the darkness he had created. He tried to write other songs. He tried to find joy again. But Gloomy Sunday followed him like a ghost. He once said that he stood in the middle of his success as a murderer. The weight of 100 souls was pressing down on his heart. Have you ever felt a sadness so heavy that you couldn't breathe? That is the frequency of this song. It doesn't just play in your ears. It plays in your soul. The authorities thought they could bury the melody, but you cannot bury a curse. The song was out there, waiting in the dark corners of record stores, waiting for the next lonely person to drop the needle. Who was the next victim? And what happened to the composer when the song finally came for him? The composer, Rezo Circes, was living in a nightmare of his own making, a prisoner of the melody that brought him fame and destruction. He watched from his window as the world fell apart, and he knew, deep down, that his music was the soundtrack to the end. The curse eventually came for him. The man who gave the world Gloomy Sunday decided he could no longer live with the echoes. He jumped from the window of his apartment in Budapest. But the tragedy didn't end there. He survived the fall, only to finish the job in the hospital, choking himself with a wire. Even the creator of the song was not immune to its deadly pull. But why? Why does this music have such power? Scientists and psychologists have studied the notes for decades. They speak of low-frequency depression and melodic traps, but for those who have felt the chill, it's not science. It's a void. Even today, in the age of the internet, the warning remains. The image says it clearly. Listen at your own risk. There are stories. The people stumbling upon the song late at night on the web and feeling a sudden, overwhelming sense of doom. The air in the room turns heavy. The lights seem to dim, and the only thing you can hear is that haunting piano. Is it a psychological trick? Or is the music a bridge to a place we are not meant to go? Some versions of the song have been digitally altered, scrubbed of the forbidden frequencies, but the original recordings, the ones from the 1930s, they still exist in the dark corners of the web. They say that if you listen to the original Hungarian version in total darkness, you aren't just listening to a song. You are inviting a guest into your home, a guest that doesn't want to leave. The ban was lifted in many places years ago, but the stigma remains. Radio stations still hesitate to play it. Musicians still fear to cover it. The Gloomy Sunday legacy is a blood-stained record that refuses to stop spinning. The legend of Gloomy Sunday didn't die with its creator. It migrated into the digital age. Even now, on forums and hidden threads, users whisper about the forbidden version. They say there is a recording out there, an original wax cylinder rip that contains the RO unfiltered frequency of the curse. Have you ever scrolled through the comments of a video late at night? You will see them. People claiming they felt a sudden, sharp pain in their chest while listening. Others say their electronics began to malfunction, screens flickering, audio distorting into a low, guttural growl. The image warns us. Share and listen at your own risk. This isn't just a marketing ploy. It is a legacy of over 100 lives lost. The song was banned for many years for a reason. Even today, YouTube has been known to pull down certain uploads of the track because the atmosphere it creates is too unsettling. But what is the truth behind the melody? Is it a cursed object, or a mirror reflecting our own inner darkness? Some say the song is a test. If you can listen to the end and feel nothing, you are safe. But if you feel that pull, that urge to turn the volume higher and higher, then the melody has found a home in you. It is a parasite of the mind, fed by the very sadness it creates. If you find yourself alone this Sunday, and the rain is hitting the window, and do you feel a strange curiosity to find that song, stop. Think of the 100 souls. Think of the man who jumped. Think of the silence that followed. The internet is a vast ocean, and some things are better left drowned. The Gloomy Sunday curse is real as long as the music is playing. Do you hear that? That faint, distant piano? It's better if you just turn it off. The night was cold in Clifton, Virginia. Back in 1970, a young couple was driving near the Colchester overpass, now known to the world as Bunnyman Bridge. Suddenly, something smashed through their window. A man, dressed in a white rabbit suit, was screaming at them about trespassing. In his hand, he held a razor-sharp axe. But this wasn't just a random attacker. The origins of this monster are shrouded in blood. The story goes back even further, to a transport bus carrying patients from a local asylum. The bus crashed, and most of the inmates died. But one man escaped into the woods, a man who was obsessed with rabbits. For weeks, locals found the carcasses of hundreds of rabbits, mutilated and hanging from the trees. He wasn't just hiding, he was hunting. The police finally tracked him down to the bridge. As they closed in, he didn't surrender. He laughed as he ran onto the tracks, and was struck by an oncoming train. They say his body was splattered all over the iron and stone, leaving a stain that never truly washed away. Did the bunny man die that night, or did he just find a permanent home under the bridge? Years passed, but the bridge didn't find peace. Every year, as the leaves turn brown and October 31st approaches, the atmosphere changes. Visitors who are brave enough or foolish enough to stand under the one-lane tunnel at midnight report a chilling sight. They see freshly skinned rabbit carcasses hanging from the overpass, just like they did in 1970. But the real terror starts when you see the figure. A tall man in a dirty, matted rabbit suit, standing in the shadows of the tunnel. He doesn't speak. He doesn't move. He just watches. And then, the sound of metal scraping against stone. Shmar, r, shmar, r, shmar. He is sharpening his axe. Those who dare to get too close are chased away by the screaming madman. Some have reported seeing a white blur in their rearview mirror, a rabbit that runs as fast as a car. Is it a prank? A legend? Or is the spirit of the asylum inmate still protecting his territory? The Bunny Man isn't just a story for Halloween. Locals report strange incidents all year round. Dozens of reports have been filed about a crazy man in a suit threatening people for trespassing. One group of teenagers claimed they were sitting under the bridge when the temperature dropped. Bone-chillingly cold, their car engine died. As they looked up at the ceiling of the tunnel, they saw it, the spirit of the Bunny Man, roaming beneath the stone archway. He looked like a shadow, but his eyes were wide and full of pure malice. He started to run. They barely got the car started in time. To this day, they refuse to go back to Clifton. They say the bridge feels alive, like it's breathing, like it's waiting for the next person to step into the dark. What is he looking for? Why is he still obsessed with the rabbits? Some say he is trying to piece together his own shattered life, one mutilation at a time. Today, the Colchester overpass is a place of pilgrimage for horror fans, but the locals have a different name for it, the gateway to hell. If you find yourself in Virginia, and you see a small, one-lane bridge, surrounded by thick, dark woods, do not stop, especially not at night. The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice. The legend says that if you are under the bridge at exactly midnight on Halloween, the Bunny Man will appear behind you. You won't hear him coming. You'll only hear the sound of his axe. He doesn't care if you believe in him. He only cares that you are on his bridge. The tracks above are silent, but the spirit below is hungry. Don't be the next person to find out if the legend is true, because once you enter the tunnel, you might not come out the other side. Stay away, or you might end up just like the rabbits. In the heart of Rohini, Delhi, lies a stretch of water that defies logic. On the surface, it looks like a normal stream, but locals know better. They call it Khooni Nadi, the river of blood. It is a place where the water doesn't just flow, it consumes. The legends say that this river is thirsty. It doesn't wait for accidents to happen. It lures people in. It is believed that anyone who touches the water, even for a second, is pulled deeper and deeper into the dark, murky depths. There is no escape. No struggle can save you once the river has chosen its victim. But where do they go? The bodies are rarely found. The water seems to swallow them whole. People say the river has a mind of its own. It watches, it waits, and when the sun goes down, the true face of Khooni Nadi is revealed. The air becomes thick with the smell of decay, and the sound of the water changing, like it's whispering your name. Have you ever looked at a river and felt like it was looking back at you? In Rohini, that feeling is real. As night falls, the residents of the nearby colonies lock their doors. They know that the darkness brings out the ghosts of the drowned. The silence of the night is often shattered by blood-curdling screams, crying, wailing, and the sound of someone gasping for breath. These aren't living people in distress. These are the echoes of those whom the river took. Imagine walking near the bank and hearing a child's voice calling for help, coming from the middle of the stream. But when you look, there is nothing but the black, cold water. If you step closer, the voice changes. It becomes a laugh, a sickening, distorted laugh. The legend says that those who drown in Khooni Nadi don't find peace. They come back as ghosts, trapped forever in the place where they died. They're the ones pulling at your feet, hoping to find someone to take their place in the MD. The local residents refuse to go near the bank after dark. They have seen the shadows, the pale figures standing in the mist, waiting for the next person to make a mistake. Many people call it a suicide hub. They say people come here to end it all. But is that the whole truth? Or is the river forcing them to do it? Witnesses have spoken of a strange, hypnotic pull. They describe a feeling of being tranced, as if the water is calling to their soul. They walk towards the edge, unable to stop themselves, their eyes wide and vacant. Is it the spirits of the dead, or is the river itself an entity? There are stories of researchers and skeptics who went to the river to prove it was all AMW. They sat with their cameras and recorders, waiting for a sign. Many left in terror before the night was over. Some reported their equipment failing, batteries draining in seconds, and the sound of wet footsteps circling their tents. The river doesn't like being studied. It likes being feared. Every death adds to its power. Every soul makes the current stronger. The blood in its name isn't just a metaphor. It's a warning. If you find yourself in Delhi, and you hear about a quiet stream in Rohini, stay away. It may look peaceful, but beneath that surface is a vortex of misery. The government has put up fences. There are warnings everywhere, but the river still finds a way. It is a portal to a place where the living do not belong. If you stand on the bridge and look down, and you see a reflection that doesn't look like you, run. Don't look back. Don't listen to the cries, because once you touch that water, you're no longer a part of this world. You become a part of the legend. The screams you hear at 3 a.m. aren't just a coincidence. They are a reminder that some places on Earth belong to the dead. Khooni Nadi is waiting. The water is cold. The ghosts are hungry. Will you be the next one to come back as a ghost? Or will you be smart enough to never, ever touch the water?